Hello and good morning. Welcome to Courtney According to Courtney is your time to come sit with me every morning around 10 o'clock where we have a cup of tea and we refill your cup and have different conversations about different things. I'm Courtney, and this morning we're picking up from our first topic from last week and having our first guest. Last week, what we really talked about was what is the difference between a midwife and a doula, and I talked on it a little bit. But today, I thought the best way for you to really understand and capsule why a midwife is so important was to call a midwife. So today we have Miss Triana with us. Triana, welcome to the space.
Yes, thank you so much, Courtney. Thanks for having me on here. This is a really important topic, so I'm glad you have me on today. Thanks.
I'm so glad to have you. So to have you in the space and to open you up with the audience, I want to start off with 3 questions just to get you grounded and so everyone knows who you are. So the first question, I'm going to tell you the 3 and we'll go through them and why I'm asking you it. First, where are you from? And what I mean where you're from is where are your people from, how you got here. 2, what's your name? What is the origin of your name and why is it important to you? And then 3, what are your intentions today and what information you want to share with our guest?
Yes, good questions. So my name is Triana. I'm Triana Boggs. I'm the owner and Motherland Birthing and Wellness. It's a midwifery practice here in Hillsborough and Polk County. So I am originally from Kentucky. All my people are from Kentucky. We are kind of spread out all over now, but the roots are there. And so I migrated here to Florida about 9 years ago now. My husband, he went to USF, started grad school there. So we just headed this way without any real family or any connections here. But it felt like home. So Florida's becoming home for me. I'm in Plant City now. But definitely going to be staying around this area. But Kentucky's home. That's where all my people still are, and they come visit me whenever they can. The origin of my name is interesting. I asked my mom that same question. I'm like, where did my name come from? Like, where'd you come up with this?
Mm-hmm.
And I really don't know the answer. I can't. She's like, yeah, I just thought I liked it. I'm like, all right. So there is no real big story. There's no rhyme or reason really to my name, but I like my name. So hopefully, it's a thing.
It's a cool name. So, you had to ask, got to ask.
Right. Yeah. What is your name and why is it? I don't know. I like it though. And the other question, my intentions, the intention here for me today is to spread the word about midwifery and the practice of midwives and what we do, why it's important to the community. In the birth space, midwifery is definitely something that was traditionally in the home. It was something that was community based, and it has since been I'm thinking we're going to touch on a little bit.
No, you're right on into it where I wanted to go.
It was originally in the home. It was something that was passed on to us from generation to generation, and it was eventually institutionalized into hospital settings and the medical practice. And I think my intention today is to just speak on the importance of bringing it back to community and the importance of having community and tradition back in this space, and invite others to be open to that safety of midwifery and why it is still possible.
I love it.
Yeah. So
I love it. Thank you. That's a lot of amazing and heavy intentions to bring into the space, and we're here for it. And I want to actually go back into what you started talking about. And could you give our audience a brief history of Black midwives in America? Because a lot of people they've heard of a midwife, but they're not sure what a midwife does and how do you guys show up in this space, and that this isn't something new.
Oh yeah. So midwifery is definitely not something new. Before Black folks were enslaved, before we were brought here to the Americas, midwifery and a midwife were the people in the community who birthed those communities. We were held to a standard of being able to to be that person in the community to birth the babies and to have that sense of security for folks and to call on us whenever the families needed something. So that changed a little bit once we were here in America and enslaved, because we had that same job. You know, we were birthed in the communities here in America, but we weren't doing it in the sense of freedom and community. We were doing it as because we had to for our slave owners, right? Mm-hmm. So when we became free, some of those traditions were taken away from us. I believe it was around the 1920s, 30s, or something around that time period, where all of the education and the traditions and all the things that we knew were then taken from us by white midwives, and then tried to be sold back to us in the traditional midwifery education. And we were not allowed to go to these institutions where they were teaching us midwifery, which we already knew. We were the ones who taught them, right? But but they have now they institutionalized that education. So Black midwives were basically shunned out of being able to get the credentials to practice midwifery in the traditional sense in the hospitals, and because it became nurse midwives in that role. Mm-hmm. So it took a while, but we definitely have come back to this space. It's not something new, but we've come back to this space as licensed providers in our states. So in midwifery, the way that I am certified as a certified nurse midwife, I had to become a nurse first. So I am I've been a NICU nurse for 10 years. So I've been an RN for a while now, getting my education that way, and then joining the midwifery realm in that space after I think 2019 is when I really, or 2018 is when I was like, you know what? I've been in this space in the NICU for quite some time and had my own, birthing experience where it was, I had a lot of trauma from my first birthing experience that kind of led me more into, you know what, we got to do something about these moms. We got to do something about the maternal morbidities and maternal mortalities, infant mortality. So I found midwifery in that realm, mm-hmm. Because a lot of people join midwifery because they know a midwife, or they knew a doula, or they knew somebody, their family friends were born at home. And in Kentucky, where I'm from, I was like, a midwife? I ain't never heard of that. What is that? Never heard of it. But being a NICU nurse and having my own birthing experience, I'm like, who are people? Like, I know there has to be a way that we do something about this. And I found midwifery that way and have been glued to it ever since. So, started my midwifery journey in that way. So yeah, in a nutshell, midwifery started as a tradition. It started as something that we known and passed down to one another for generations. And it has become something now to where it is regulated, and you get certified in it. It's very important. I think that regulation is something that we all should strive to do, because then it builds accountability for sure. As you know what you're doing, because there are people who will say that they are midwives and they have no training at all. So that's not safe either.
Right.
So there definitely should be something there. But traditionally speaking, midwives came from the community. We taught one another.
I love
And
So I want to
that's that.
touch on a couple of things, and also the question we have, and thank you for sharing that. Like, a lot of people don't understand that the South was actually built by midwives, and the midwives were the ones that actually did control how many babies were coming into the community. They actually did control abortions, and they were working for the people of having, though the plantations, they had to work on their slave owners, but they were really regulating the health of these women, doing the best that they can with the traditions that they have. And as you mentioned, it has changed over, that it has become so much more commercialized. As one of our viewers here, she wrote on here, I work for the community health center. And last year, the medical leadership team has started to look at hiring midwives. And I've had a pleasure to speak with candidates. So it's like, yes, it started by us, and now we are seeing a resurgence. And you really touched on something that I think is important. You said that you were a certified nurse midwife. Could you share with people the different types of midwives that there are? Because you also touched on the midwives that are not certified and that are out there. So can you go over with guests, what are the different types of midwives?
Right. So each state has their own regulations as to which type of midwife is recognized in that state, but they are certified professional midwives. There are licensed midwives, nurse midwives. So they're licensed midwives and certified professional midwives are traditionally taught in I believe it's like 3 years or so in the out of hospital setting. They don't have to be trained as nurses first. But they are, after getting so many hours and requirements in that space, in the out of hospital space, they take an exam and become licensed in that way. I believe theirs is the NARM exam.
Yes.
So that's one avenue of midwifery. And I believe, like, the certified professional midwives and licensed midwives, a majority of the out-of-hospital birth midwives here in Florida are LMs, are licensed midwives and certified professional midwives. Man, do they know their stuff? Do they know their stuff if they're talking about out-of-hospital? Because that's where they're trained, right? That's the things that they know. That's the things they're comfortable with. So I love working with the licensed midwives here. The certified nurse midwife, which I am, and certified midwives, we are practicing as, here in Florida, we are advanced practice registered nurses. We are APRNs, nurse practitioners. So all of my traditional training is in the hospital setting. So I went 4 years in undergrad to become a registered nurse, and then went on to get my master's degree in nursing from Frontier Nursing University, and then did all the education and requirements in the hospital setting, took the exam to become a certified nurse midwife. So most certified nurse midwives work in hospital-based practices, but they don't have to. Some work in home birth like me. Some work in, just some don't do birth at all, because as a certified nurse midwife, I can do women's health as well. So from menarche on through menopause, through the end of life, I'm able to do that as well. So it's not just prenatal and postpartum care and birth. So that's kind of the main difference, is that as a CPM, as a licensed midwife, some of the roles that it's more focused on the prenatal, postpartum period and birth. And nurse midwives, we can focus more on the women's health aspect in general.
I love it. And I think that's so important that people know the different type of care that's out there. You can have a home birth. You can also have continuation care with your midwife. And I love the comment that's put in there, and I want to touch on that, saying like the noticeable difference in the work of the passion with the patients. So what is one of the really great advantages of having a Black Black midwife versus having
Yeah.
just regular OB?
Right. Yeah. So OB care and midwifery care are a little bit different in that, we still are focused on evidence-based practice. We're still going to be doing the things that are safe in your care. But I think that a lot of times midwives take that extra time to get to know the patient and have individualized client relationships, right? It's not just like, well, this protocol says we got to do this because you meet this checkbox. Like as a Black midwife, I'm not going to see you as just this checkbox. And we're going to get to know you. I'm going to get to know you as a person, and see like what is going on in your life that may contribute to your high blood pressure that you have in today, or whatever the case may be. And not just say, oh, well, because you have high blood pressure today, we're going to do this, 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 and this. We're going to have a discussion. We're going to talk about these things, and see if we can come up with a collective decision about your care together.
Absolutely.
Yes, I think that's the biggest difference. That time and that personality, that personable piece that is often missed with traditional OB care.
Absolutely. I have noticed with working with midwives and even with clientele, that's the main thing they say. It's like, wow, my midwife is so personable, and they talk to me and they really take time with me. So I want to touch on a little bit the basis, because a lot of time people blur the lines of what a midwife is and what a doula is. And coming from a midwife who is also a nurse and been in the field, can you really help the audience go and distinctively say, okay, the roles, what do you do as a midwife versus what I do as a doula?
Yes, very important. I mean, because the lines are blurred a lot of times, and people don't. I mean, I get a lot of clients still to this day. They're like, "Oh, I thought I could just hire a doula, and that would be it." Like, we are different. I 100% will recommend that you get a doula as well. But your doula is going to be somebody who is supportive of you emotionally, physically, can put hands on you throughout labor, early labor, throughout that time that you need somebody there to focus on you're kind of getting through that labor period, right? And even postpartum, there's a lot of postpartum doulas. There's a lot of things that a doula can help with to help just be able to physically, emotionally, and give you that education. What a midwife is going to do is more clinical work. So we are the ones who are going to be able to put hands on baby, to be able to do your cervical exams, do your blood pressure, make sure that your labor is progressing safely. All of the clinical things are going to be what a midwife does. And a doula should not be doing. So if your doula says, I can come over and check your cervix and we'll call your midwife when it's ready, that's not what a doula does.
Absolutely. And I love what you said. It was really, and I love it. Like, doulas put hands on mom, midwives put hands on baby. And I really like to push that. And I think that is so important. It's like, as the doula, we are here as the psychosocials, the emotional, the mental health. We're here to help with those parts of it. But that midwife, she's touching that baby. She's checking that baby. And that we also understand to keep those lines really separate. And especially, as being a Black midwife, you guys have to deal with some different type of challenges than white midwives do. And so I want to ask you now, what are some of the challenges that come with being a Black midwife?
I can say for me personally, I had a lot of challenges as a student midwife. It was very difficult for me to, I felt like I had to always be above, right? Like most Black folks, you feel like you have to prove yourself more. There is definitely a lot more, you're in the spotlight, like they're waiting for you to make a mistake. And it's the same here in my space as a midwife. I've gone through midwifery school, passed the exam, did all the things I was supposed to do. And it's still to this day, what are you doing? Like, can you do this work? It's more like still in the spotlight of waiting for you to make that mistake. So I think it's definitely something it's a bigger challenge with fighting the fighting the white midwives and the community as a whole to prove yourself and prove that you're capable of this work when we know, like we just spoke on, that we were doing this work first. We taught you this information, but you want to, challenge my credentials.
Right. Because, I feel like people have to understand that, the building of gynecological health was built off the backs of us and off enslaved people. They use them to learn gynecology. I never use the father of gynecology's name. You don't do that. You're a rapist and you harmed people, and this is what you're done. And this is where the book of education on gynecology and how to birth, it was based off of this thought process and off of these birth bodies. And I feel like a lot of people lose the fact of, it's like, it was built in with a racist thought, or we use implicit biases because it makes people feel better about how things are taught. So it's taught that we feel pain differently. We are above the norm, however, but we're not intelligent. So to
exactly
have that stigma in a space that we birthed this nation, we birthed the South. You wouldn't be here without my people. And then to have to then always constantly be challenged. It's very difficult to be in these spaces as a midwife. I could imagine, because as a birth worker, period, you're dealing with it, but to have that knowledge challenged a lot as a midwife, I could see being really overwhelming. What are some ways that we help make sure that there are more Black midwives? And what are some great ways that we help student midwives make it through their process so that they can be here in these Black birthing spaces?
Yeah, I think we have to be able to help one another by being preceptors, because that makes a world of difference. Having somebody that you can look up to that looks like you feel comfortable asking questions to. So anytime I have any Black students that reach out to me, I'm like, yes, bring them on, whoever, whatever you need, because we need more of us to be able to be in these safe spaces together. Jenny Joseph, who has the only Black accredited midwifery school, is doing that work. So for sure, being able to attend an institution like hers that would be able to, get more Black midwives in these communities is very important. Also, just I guess, being able to support the midwives who are actually doing this work now, and the doulas who are doing this work now, being able to support us in a way that is like, spread the word and then and pay us for the work that we're doing. Like, that's important too. So financially, because white midwives most of the time don't have that type of barrier to starting practices and doing this work, and we do.
Right.
We do. So absolutely, being able to support us in that way is important as well, so that we can continue doing this work and we can have more people that we can train.
Absolutely. So we have a comment right here, and I think this is really important because I don't see that we're doing this enough, or that it has been out. Do you all do outreach in schools, middle and high school, especially in minority schools? I am open and willing to. Yes, I do love doing speaking engagements. If you ask and you call about what birth work is, I have had the pleasure of at Foundations, which is a local community organization here, speaking to high schoolers that were graduating about what birth work is. And I think that it would be a beautiful thing to be able to put out there, because you don't hear about what we do. And when schools are coming up, they're like, okay, you can be a doctor, you can be a lawyer, you can be a police officer, but who's talking about, hey, you could be a midwife? And what does that look like?
Yeah, I think that would be so important. I did one for my daughter's school in preschool last year, and my other daughter's third grade class. And it was so interesting. And all they were so excited about, like, oh man, I didn't know anything about a midwife. And it's true. Like a lot of people still don't know what a midwife is. And to start young and be able to, talk to these children and go to, and even into the high schools about like becoming a midwife so that they know it's an option too. I think it would be really important. I don't know how we can do that, for a majority of the schools, but I think, being able to go to at least a few in the communities would be helpful for sure.
Well, we start right here. We are on a virtual platform and saying, hey, Hillsborough, Polk County, Pinellas County school boards, reach out to Triana, reach out to 3 Gems Birth Services. Come talk to us. Let us talk to your students. Reach out to your Black midwives and your Black birth workers and say, hey, we're here. And I think that's part of us standing up, because I think people don't ask because they don't know what it is themselves. So it's about having these types of conversations to educate and be like, hey, guess what? 1, you don't have to birth like this. 2, you have options. 3, these are your options. 4, you can be part of the change. So unless you know, like you really said, unless you were born into this work or you happen to know someone in this work, you don't know about it. Like myself, I was born by midwives and born from nurses who came from an era that they knew about this. My grandmother wanted to be a midwife, but the Gainesville School of Midwifery told her no, because she was a Black woman at that time. She became a nurse. So this was embedded into how I was raised. So I knew about this, and this is just very normal to my lifestyle and to my children's lifestyle. But most people have never even heard about this. So I think it's about us having these conversations and be able to come together to be able to say, hey, we out here. So
yeah, for sure. I would be open to it, 100% open to it. If, any schools that want to have me as a guest, and I would love to be there.
I love it. So for that, how do we find you? I know we have it over on the bottom parts about who you are and what you are, but let everyone know in this moment who you are, how do they find you, and what services you all offer.
Yes, so Motherland Birthing and Wellness. You can find us on Facebook at Motherland Birthing. I think the and is just the and symbol, wellness. And then in Instagram is Motherland Birthing and Wellness, all spelled out, AND. My website is motherlandbirthandwellness.com. And then on that website, if you'd like to schedule a free consultation, there's a 30-minute free consultation that you can schedule yourself for, to talk about like what your goals are for labor and birth, what your goals are for home birth, or if you're wanting a hospital birth. It's my practice. I provide services for home birth, as well as if you're planning a hospital birth. I can do your prenatal care and postpartum care, lactation support as well. So all those are options. I'm going to be starting childbirth education courses once a month. And the location of that will be more to come on that. But yes, monthly, I'm going to be doing childbirth education as well. You'll also find me in the community coming up soon. So I'm going to be an NRP instructor. I'm working on becoming an NRP instructor. So I'm going to be holding some classes for that as well, so that folks in the community who are doing out of hospital and need that NRP certification can get that as well. So I'll be more to come on that as well. But that's, awesome. I'm going to be out here, girl. I'm out here. So
I love it. So for the audience who doesn't know, what is NRP certification? What is that?
Yeah, so that's neonatal resuscitation. So anytime there's an infant born that is compromised in some way, not breathing or having difficulty breathing, who comes out with, maybe not a heart rate, NRP is what we use to facilitate that resuscitation. So any birth that I go to, I'm going to have equipment to be able to do these things, because not all births go according to plan. Like sometimes babies do need a little bit of resuscitation. So I carry oxygen, I carry a bag and mask, and be able to give the baby some breast if the baby needs that. So, and all the things, if there's that emergency, I'm prepared for that.
That is absolutely amazing. So we're at our midpoint right now. So we're going to go ahead and let them have a midpoint where they're going to tell us about the music of the week and all of that. And then we're going to catch up where we were.
All right.
Yes, indeed. What's going on, everybody? Today we have our boy Hakeem Romance, and let me see here. I'm scrolling through everything. This song is called "Ride Out," so let's check it out.
Man, that's crazy. Oh, man. But I see you, doing your thing out here, man, working hard in these streets. You just trying to pay your bills on time and make sure everything cool. I see you, but look, you know what I'm saying? Let's go out for a little bit. You know what I mean? Matter of fact, let me tell you something. Look like this. Look. Girl, if you want me to read, just take the time, yeah. I'll pick you up in a minute, we gon' ride. So what you want, love, let me surprise it. I know you like that, keep it coming right back. Ooh, yeah, you want me to read, just take the time, yeah. I'll pick you up in a minute, we gon' ride. So what you want, love, let me surprise it. I know you like that, keep it coming right back. Ooh, yeah. I'ma pull up on you and change your whole perspective. You ain't gon' know what to do when I teach you all these lessons, girl. You got questions and I got answers. I'm the solution to handle all your curves. It's been a minute since somebody gave it to you like this, hasn't it? Girl, I'ma take it down. You know what I'm talking about, so stop playing around and stay for a while now. Just let it flow, baby, relax your nerves, babe. Girl, you in good hands all day, baby. I got you covered, look, baby, there is no other. Take a good look, do I sound right? Now talk to me now. It's gonna take time for you to get ready. I know you came out here to slay. How you put everything together, all the evidence birth away. You bustin', baby, on all levels. Isn't she lovely? Come on, ride with me. Just take your time, man. I'll pick you up in a minute. We gon' ride. So what you gon' do? Let me surprise you. I know you like that. Keep it coming right back. Ooh, yeah. You want me to read? Just take the time, yeah. I'll pick you up in a minute. We gon' ride. So what you gon' do? Let me surprise you. I know you like that. Keep it coming right back. Ooh, yeah. Looking like you like that. No, you love that. Yeah, don't hold back. Yeah, it's all that. You find from A to Z, girl, you and me, and that's just what it's gonna be. You a monster, ooh wee, you a beast with it. My little flavor, my little shout is super freaky. I love the fragrance you wear, and you're smelling really good. So captivating, I bite you, you looking edible. Be my baby, drive me crazy. Get me wide open, oh, and I don't wanna close it, no. It's gonna take time for you to get ready. I know you came out here to slay. How you put everything together, all the evidence birth away. You bustin', baby, on all levels. Isn't she lovely? Come on, ride with me. Just take the time, yeah. I'll pick you up in a minute and we gon' ride. So what you want, love? Let me surprise you. I know you like that. Keep it coming right back. Ooh, yeah. You want me to read? Just take the time, yeah. I'll pick you up in a minute and we gon' ride. So what you want, love? Let me surprise you. I know you like that. Keep it coming right back. Ooh, yeah. You want me to read? Just take the time, yeah. I'll pick you up in a minute and we gon' ride. So what you want, yeah. Let me surprise you. I know you like that. Keep it coming right back. Ooh, yeah. You want me to read? Just take the time, yeah. I'll pick you up in a minute and we gon' ride. So what you want, yeah. Let me surprise you. I know you like that. Keep it coming right back. Ooh, yeah.
And that is our boy Hakeem Romance with Ride Out. And if you are an independent artist or a spoken word poet or even an up and coming comedian looking for some exposure, you can go to blastmusic247.com and register for free. But also, if you're a fan of music, just like that one from Hakeem Romance, you can listen to hundreds of songs for free by going to blastmusic247.com, register as a fan, and have access to all those songs. Blast, changing the industry one artist at a time. All right, back to y'all later.
Thank you so much, Blast. We always encourage the baby making music, so we always keep it going. Baby making music keeps us in business, honey, so keep it going.
Keep it going. I was like jamming over there.
Yes, we're always about it. I actually said on purpose, give us the baby making music because we got to keep the bills paid, keep the blessings coming so we can keep doing this work.
Exactly.
So I want to slide into actually a conversation about, what is it about having Black and brown safe spaces for birth workers? How do you feel about that? Is that something that's important that we have?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, having a safe space is so important to the well-being of families, and even like the communities of those Black birth workers to have the space to have with one another. Is important as well. Like to have to be able to do this work, we need that. And even the families need to have that to feel safe in those spaces as well. So absolutely. So it's definitely important to have those spaces for the community and for each other.
Absolutely love it. And we have a question here. What was one of your most memorable birthing experiences in your career as a CNM?
Most memorable, let's see. I mean, there are several, but I would say the most memorable so far has been with a VBAC client at home who wasn't given that opportunity to feel safe in the environment she was in the hospital. And she's like, I got to do something different. And we made that journey together, and I was able to assist her to birth her baby at home safely in her own arms. So it was such a beautiful experience. She had to work hard for that baby. She worked hard, but it was such a beautiful and positive experience, and one that I will for sure never forget.
So for the audience members who may not know what a VBAC is, can you explain to people what a VBAC birth is?
Yes. So vaginal birth after cesarean. So a lot of people, C-section rates are all-time high, right? Like it's become a norm. Like people are like, oh yeah, I had a C-section, and they blow it off like it's nothing. That is a major abdominal surgery, and oftentimes done without a real solid reason for it. So a lot of times people are robbed of that experience of a vaginal birth, and they are hoping that the next go around they are able to do a vaginal birth. And the research shows that for a majority of folks who meet certain criteria, it is safe to do a vaginal birth after a C-section. So in my practice, if you are, we have a consultation and found that you are, it's a safe situation for you, you are able to birth your baby at home after you've had a C-section. So I'm open to that as well. So
I think that's really important because a lot of people don't understand that. People think that C-sections are normal, and that is something an everyday thing to happen, especially in the Black and brown community. A lot of people don't understand that your body can birth on its own, and do get robbed of that experience for whatever reason. A lot of times because they don't have someone who's really patient and in waiting with them, because people forget birth is a business. And in a hospital setting, they're going to treat birth as a business and not about what is necessarily best for the birthing person, but about how much money I can get out of your pockets. And we tend to have a higher C-section rate. So talking about VBACs and letting people know that is an option. You don't
it is an option
like that.
Yeah. And you're so right, Courtney. I think a lot of times it's because they are not given that opportunity for time, and having the space and be able to get in a safe space in their own minds. Most of the time it ends up being that they're in a hospital setting where it's like, there's a lot of chaos in the hospital. There's a lot going on, and people aren't able to get in that space for themselves where they feel comfortable and their body is able to relax and release and do all the things it does naturally that it would do at home. In a hospital setting, they're like, the time is ticking. You've been in this room too long. We having a baby now, or we going back for a C-section, right? And there's a lot of pressure with that. And at home, as long as everything is safe, your baby sounds fine, your vitals are fine, all the things are aligning okay, we're going to let you have that time, that space until your body is ready to have this baby.
Absolutely. So. And we have a comment here too that you really love that the work that we both do, and decide to advocate even more with your daughters in the circle. Do you work alone or work in a team? So I love to talk about this because when I started out as a doula, I was really blessed that I did work in a team. I had a team with a midwife, a Black midwife. There was a Black photographer who also did lactation. So when we went into births, people got us because of that experience, and people don't really understand what it's like to have a whole Black birth working experience and how different that is from being in a hospital, or even just and not to take away from white midwives, but it's that experience of everyone in your team looks like you, understands that it's cultural competent care, and that how that moves. Would you like to kind of talk on that and your experience about, do you work alone? Do you work in a team? How does that work for you?
Mm-hmm. So that is one of the missions and the visions of Motherland Birthing and Wellness, is that eventually this is going to be a practice of multidisciplinary services. So I want to be able to have more midwives of color in my practice. I want to be able to have lactation consultants, social work, mental health, and have even primary care, to be able to focus on fathers and babies as well in the collective practice, so that it can be, like you're saying, like a whole team of us, for us, for this community. But for now, I am, as starting off this practice, I am a solo midwife in this practice. I'm working alone. But I do have 2 birthing assistants, one in Polk County, Stephanie Lewis, and then I've got one in Hillsborough County right now, Andrea Vaughn. She's a student midwife as well. So I've got a little team that's growing and hoping to grow it a little bit more, because there are, like you said, plenty of doulas out in the community too, that I refer to all the time for my clients. And like, I know this doula, go there, do this, lactation, same thing. So they're not in my team, but I definitely refer out for those folks all the time.
And for your clientele and for people who are out there who are looking for a birthing experience, you can build your team. You can, and we do it all the time. It's like, you know what, I'm going to hire this midwife, I'm going to hire this doula and this lactation specialists that are all people of color, so that we can come together and work together. And what you guys don't know is, like, when you have those types of opportunities, we all meet up. We all talk about it so that we're giving you the best care. Oh, you say you need this here in Orange County? Listen, there is Black midwives and Black doulas everywhere. Orange County, you guys have some rich, great midwives over there. You have, Common Sense Birth over there. You have a lot of things over there. But yeah, we're all over the place, and we move around. So speaking of that, what areas do you all cover?
Yes, so my practice services Hillsborough, all of Hillsborough County, and all of Polk County. So it's a pretty big area there. So if you are in Hillsborough or Polk County, I am able to service you for maternity care, and also for well women, and services for women's health as well.
So the question here that's putting up here, do you work with herbs, homeopathic, or alternative medicines for pregnancy and labor support?
So that is something that, like we were speaking about earlier, a lot of the certified professional midwives and licensed midwives have a lot of that experience and are trained in those in that way. As a nurse midwife, we're trained more in traditional medicine, right? So a lot of that is the things that I'm learning on my own and having to learn from other folks, and I'm definitely doing more of that. So I'm happy to grow in that way and support you as best I can, and very open to it for sure. But I wouldn't say I'm an expert in it, but definitely something that I'm looking into to getting more exposure to.
I love that honesty. Like how I work in it, as in a space of a doula practitioner. So a lot of times if you're looking more for more herbs and things like that, my answer is always go to your midwife first, work with a herbalist who goes through those things, but as like a doula, I do, different oils, what smells good to you during that to set the space of it. But as in, I cannot, as a doula, prescribe you anything. That's out of my practice. But you had spoken a lot about us coming together and community and everything else. Let's talk about what are you doing in the community to actually have that happen?
Yes. So October 7th, you guys, I'm going to be hosting an event. I think the link is going to be linked in here in the chat box for you guys. It is going to be a community-wide event. So I want to invite the community to come out to this event to meet up with all of the BIPOC professionals in this community for things in the birth space. So we're going to have doulas, other midwives, lactation, mental health, but also, outside of the birth space, there are going to be, herbalists as well, chiropractors, pelvic floor therapy, physical therapy, any and everything wellness. Who are, if you are a BIPOC professional in that way, you are invited to come to this space. It's going to be in Smudge Life Studio, which is kind of by Ybor in Tampa. So definitely come out to this event. It's going to be on October 7th. It's going to be from 12 to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So come together. Community is so important, just so that we all know each other as professionals, and we know what each other's services are, what we're doing in the community, but also for the folks in the community to know who we are and what we're doing as well. So it's a great opportunity so that people can find who you're looking for, the services that you're looking for, all under one roof. It's going to be great.
I'm super excited. And for the viewers, what does BIPOC mean?
Yeah. So Black, Indigenous, person of color.
There you go.
So yeah, anybody who is a person of color can come to this event.
And we really want to share and spotlight that, because a lot of people always are like, but what about everybody? It isn't for everybody. But however, there's a lot of times that specialty practices are not talked about enough, and that you were in a space that you get to understand and see who's out there. So if you want a Hispanic chiropractor that's out there, and you are looking for a Black midwife and a BIPOC doula, that you're actually having this all in one room. And let's give it out to Smudge Life over by Ybor City. That is Black owned. We love them. And we're so excited to highlight what we're doing. And with According to Courtney, that's a big deal. It's about, we want to highlight the safe spaces that are out there, and that you can have events in these spaces and what's there. This is an opportunity. Also, community, come see us. Come meet us. You are pregnant. You're thinking about getting pregnant. If you're just Black and you need a Black therapist, come on out, because we're hoping to have everyone in the space, so we can get to know each other, so you can build the teams that you're looking for, that you can have that overall wellness that is needed, because we out here, and we need you just as much as you need us. We all about doing blessings and blessing other people, and to keep doing this work and holding these spaces. You are the first person in a very long time to actually hold a space for BIPOC community, for Hillsborough, Pinellas, or anything. So we're also looking for other people who wants to hold space. Let's make this a regular thing that we can meet up, talk, and you get to know us, and we get to know you.
Absolutely. And even I think there was a person in the comments from Orange County, all of this area, right? If you are willing to make that drive out to this, to Tampa, this is an opportunity for you as well. This is something for this area, this community. And hopefully the next event, if there's someone who wants to hold it a little bit closer to your area, we are open to spreading this out, and so that we all know where everybody's at. Could be this surrounding area that needs a little bit more services, and we need to be able to highlight that and figure out where the gaps are, where we need to have more people. And so this is a good opportunity to find that out.
Absolutely. And, a lot of us do offer virtual services, so we can be in Orange County. There are all different types of services. So until you come out and meet us, you never know what we all offer. And so being in those spaces and doing this, what message would you instill to the next group of possible either the student midwives or Black women or Black people who want to go into this midwifery care? What is something that they should know moving into this type of work?
This work is hard work. I mean, you can do it. You can do it. That's the message. You can do it. But it's hard work. Don't come into this work thinking that you're just doing it for the money, or because it ain't gonna work out for you. If you're in for it for just, I think this is a good way to make some money, then it's not for you. It's from the heart, for sure. You are like your family. You're gonna have to have a family that's gonna be there for you and be willing to accept that, like, you're gonna have to leave spaces sometimes that because there are other people who need you. And I think that's the hardest part for families and I got 2 young kids, right? I got a 5-year-old and a 9-year-old. They're like, "Mommy, when you coming back?" Like it's hard work. So if you're not in a space to be able to have that support for you, and then maybe wait a little bit or think about it a little bit more, because it does take a lot of it takes a lot out of you, but it is something that is so important. And if you are passionate about this work, I encourage you to not give up on your journey, because there will be hurdles. There will be some trying times. And like I was talking about earlier, there are going to be folks that are going to push you and question you and make you feel like you cannot do this work, but you can. And I want you to reach out to folks like me, like people who are going to encourage you to keep going.
I think that's so important to put into the spaces. You can do this. It is hard work. This is definitely hard work. Birth work, period, is hard work. And you do have to have your right tribe. But the starting part about it is to reach out. There's many of us out there. If you're looking for midwifery care and looking for some inspiration, reach out to Triana, reach out to the local Black and brown midwives out there, because 9 times out of 10, they're willing to talk to you because they all have a story. They all have gone through it. And same with being a new doula. You may decide, hey, I want to help people. You don't know what it looks like. Reaching out, giving out those spaces, and also giving your flowers for these times and these consultations. It's beautiful for someone to give you a 30-minute consultation, but we do this work out of heart work, so it's not at the money work. So donations and blessings are always beautiful to get when we're doing this type of work, so we can continue on to mentor to the next ones, so that we're not having to charge our mentees so much, but we're getting it from the community to keep doing what traditional has always been given to us in the first place. So we're getting closer to the end of our times, and I wanted just to be like, thank you. Thank you for holding space and being in here. And again, people reach out to Motherland Birthing and Wellness. You need a midwife? Triana's here. She's showing up for us. You're needing a doula, reach out to 3 Gems Birth Services. We are here. We're showing space for each other. And look at what's out here. There's a lot of people are here. Thank you. We're so glad you could come and you enjoyed spending time with us in this space. And we're going to keep doing this with According to Courtney, bringing in great people and great spaces. Next week, we're going to be talking on, maternal morbidity and maternal joys, and working with a therapist. And what does that look like? And what does that really mean? And how does that show up for us in the community? So again, I always want to hold you guys in space and tell you you're powerful. You're amazing. And be enlightened. And we're so happy to have you, and that these conversations are important, and we're going to keep having these conversations so that you leave with a cup full. Hopefully, Triana, your cup is full. My cup is definitely full of having this new information, and you come in to share all of this with us.
Yes. Thank you so much, Courtney. I appreciate it so much for you having me on the show. And I'm going to be joining in every Saturday, listening to According to Courtney, because I love it. I'm so glad that you had this opportunity for me and for everybody to just, have these spaces for these conversations. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm so blessed to have these conversations and want to keep having these conversations, different kind of conversations, because it's about the community. If you see, I want people to learn what's in your community. And if you don't have it, how do you reach it? How do you find it? How do you grab it? And if it's not near you, at least every Saturday, you could come grab your cup of coffee, tea, or something stronger and have a moment with us and to learn something new so that you are having your cup filled for the rest of the week. So we're going to keep on doing this and keep supporting us. And thank you for all that you do, because being a midwife is no joke. It is hard work. And we are here to honor you, honor what you do, and be honored in these spaces. So just thank you so much. And thank you, viewers, for tuning in. Please like, share, subscribe. You know, we want everyone learning about According to Courtney. Why? And tell me what y'all want to talk about. It's important. It's our community. What are the things that matter to you so we can have the right guests for it? And then also just have these open conversation. This is your forum. This is about you. This is about Black wellness, Black health, Black love, and Black community, and making sure you have those spaces and the people who are not Black and brown, so you can have a taste of this is what's really going on. This is what the scope of practice, and maybe that opens up my scope of practice for cultural competency. So now I get to see through a lens of someone else. So I thank you. We're wrapping up soon. And, you know, thank you for being in these spaces with us. Until next time, super excited to have you.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, good man. I know you back there. We doing the things. Come bring us home.
All right, everybody. Have a good evening. Let's say good afternoon, I should say.
Good afternoon. Like, it's still brunch time now. Go have a mimosa.
Yeah.
We done did things. Your cup is full. It's time for some Hennessy and orange juice. Go do some things right now and enjoy the rest of your day.
No doubt. Goodbye, everyone. Have a good week. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, guys.